Hello everyone and welcome to Learnaholic India. So in today's session, we are gonna see most frequently asked AngularJS questions and answers for the beginners. Today I'm gonna cover the basic questions about the Angular. These are some basic questions asked in the interview. We will see it one by one in detail. Let's start with the overview of Angular. AngularJS is one of the most current web development framework around the world. AngularJS is a JavaScript-based framework widely used for building the client side of any web application. It is created and maintained by the Google and a community of individuals. It helps in resolving the challenges faced by the developers while developing the single-page application. AngularJS is based on the MVW, that is, Model View Whatever model, which provides the flexibility to choose the design pattern for developing the application. It allows using a set of markups. This enables automatic synchronization between the HTML and the JavaScript. It helps the developer to focus on writing the application logic. Let's begin with the questions one by one. The first question is, what is Angular? So in the interview, there are some ways of asking the questions. It means that the simple question is asked you differently. For example, what do you understand by AngularJS? Or what is AngularJS technology? Or some may ask that define AngularJS. So the answer for AngularJS technology is that AngularJS is a JavaScript framework that is used for making rich and extensible web applications. AngularJS runs on a plain JavaScript and HTML, hence you don't need any other dependency to make it work. AngularJS is perfect for single-page application, that is SPA. It is basically used for binding the JavaScript object with the HTML user interface elements. The next question is, what are the main features of AngularJS? So here is a list of AngularJS features. Some of the features are scope, controller, model, view, services, data binding, directive, filters, testable, etc. If interviewer asks you to explain the feature in detail, then the answer is some word like this. Data binding. Data binding handles the synchronization of data across the model, controller and the view. The next is scope. Object representing the model acts as a glue layer between the controller and the view. The next is controllers. These are the JavaScript functions bound to the scope of the object. The next is services. Substitutable objects that are wired together using the dependency injection. The next is filters. Format the value of an expression for displaying to the user. For example, uppercase, lowercase, etc. The next feature is directive. These are the extended HTML attribute start with the ng dash prefix. For example, the ng/app directive used to initialize the Angular application. The next is templates. HTML code includes the AngularJS specific elements and attributes. Next feature is routing. It's an approach to switch the views. Then MVC pattern, a design pattern made up of three parts: model, view and controller. Next is deep linking. Enables the encoding of the application state in the URL and vice versa. The next feature is dependency injection, a design pattern to let the components injected into each other as a dependencies. The next question is, explain what is scope in AngularJS. The answer of this question should be, scope refers to the application model. It acts like a glue between the application controller and the view. Scopes are arranged in hierarchical structure and impersonate the DOM, that is document object model structure of the application. It can watch the expression and propagates the events. The next question is, explain the services in AngularJS. In AngularJS, Services are the singleton objects or functions that are used to carrying out a specific task. It holds some business logic, and these functions can be called as controllers, directives, filters, and so on. The next question is, what are the Angular modules? The Angular modules collectively define an Angular application where we can write the Angular code. Modules contains the different parts of an Angular application. A module is created by Angular.module function in the Angular. The next question is, which are the filters Angular supports? AngularJS provides various filters to transform the data. We will see each filter one by one. So let's start with currency. It is used to format a number to a currency format. Next is date. It allows date formatting to a specified format. Next is filter. It chooses a subset of items from an array. The next is JSON. It formats an object to a JSON string. Next is limit to. Its purpose is to create an array of string containing a specified number of elements or characters either from the beginning or the end of the source. It depends on the value and the sign. It may be positive or negative of the limit. Next is lowercase. This filter converts a string to the lowercase. Next is number. It formats a number as a text. The next is order by. It enables to sort an array. By default, sorting of string happens alphabetically and the sorting of numbers happens numerically. It also supports a comparator function where we can define what will be counted as a match or a not. The next function is uppercase. This filter converts a string to the uppercase. Next question is, mention some of the most commonly used directives in AngularJS application. So here is the answer. The directive introduces new syntax. They are like markers on DOM element which attaches a special behavior to it. Directives are the most important components. Some of the directives are ng-model, ng-app, ng-bind, ng-repeat, ng-show, etc. Let's see each directive in detail. First is ng-bind. The ng-bind directive tells AngularJS to replace the content of an HTML element with the value of a given variable or an expression. If there is any change in the value of a given variable or expression, then the content of the specified HTML element will also be updated accordingly. It supports one-way binding only. The next is ng-model. This directive is used to bind the value of HTML controls. For example, input, select, text area to application data. It is responsible for linking the view into the model. Directives such as input, text, area, and select are required. It supports two-way data binding. Next is ng-class. This directive dynamically binds one or more CSS classes to an HTML element. The value of the ng-class directive can be a string, an object, or an array. The next is ng-app. Just like the main function of the Java language, this directive marks the beginning of the application to AngularJS HTML compiler. If we do not use this directive first, an error gets generated. The next is ng-init. This is used to initialize the application data so that we can use it in the block where it is declared. If an application requires the local data like a single value or an array of values, this can be achieved using the ng-init directive. The next directive is ng-repeat. This repeats a set of HTML elements for the defined number of times. The set of the HTML statements will be repeated once per item in a collection. This collection must be an array or an object. We can also create custom directives and use them in our AngularJS application. The next question is, explain how to invoke a directive. So the answer is, there are 4 different ways to invoke a directive in an Angular application. They are as follows. The first is as an attribute. So in the tag span, you can write span my/directive and enclose the tag span. The next is as a class. The syntax is given. The next is as an element. It is used as an element. And the next one is it is also used as a comment. So the next question is, what are the advantages of the Angular? The answer is as follows. AngularJS has various advantages in web development. It supports MVC pattern. It can perform two-way data binding using the AngularJS. It has predefined font validations. It supports both client-server communication. It supports animation. It supports static template and Angular template. We can add custom directives. It supports RESTful services. It also supports dependency injection and event handlers. Thank you for watching today's session. If you are new to this channel, then subscribe to Learnaholic India and don't forget to click on the bell icon for latest video updates. If you like today's video, then like it, share it with your friends. Also, if you have any query, then please comment below. Remember one thing, sharing of knowledge is gaining of knowledge. That's it for today. Stay tuned for next video. Thank you.